Good evening and welcome to the October 2023 meeting of the Omaha Public Power District Board of Directors. Thank you all for joining us in person at the Omaha Douglas Civic Center and remotely via WebEx. I hope you and your loved ones are staying safe and healthy. With me in person tonight are my fellow board members, Amanda Bogner, Mike Kavanaugh, Matt Core, Sarah Howard, Janice Molhoff, and Mary Spurgeon. Craig Moody notified me ahead of time that he was unable to attend the meeting this evening. We also have President and CEO Javier Fernandez, our General Counsel Steve Bruckner with the Fraser Stryker Law Firm, and members of our board meeting support staff. OPPD's executive leadership team and subject matter experts are also participating in today's meeting in person and via WebEx. Additionally, we currently have four members of the public in person at the Civic Center and 7 members on WebEx, consisting of OPPD employees and members of the public. Thank you for joining us this evening. I will ask a member of OPPD's physical security team to provide the safety briefing for our location and for Javier Fernandez to provide other safety reminders.
Good evening, welcome. As we know, the emergency exits are on either side of the room. Those exits will lead to outside if we had to evacuate the building. Those exits also lead down to the parking garage in the event of severe weather. Hopefully, though, we won't have to worry about that tonight. If anybody does need any first aid, we do have we have access to first aid materials in the back of the room, AEDs by the emergency exits, as well as fire suppression materials located at those same exits. For those listening at home, we always recommend that you have some access to those items as well at home. So first aid equipment and fire suppression materials. If anybody needs any assistance here in the room, please let us know. We'll get you help as quickly as possible. We have deputy sheriffs that are in the room as well as security staff that can also provide assistance. Always be cautious of your environment. Watch out for trips and falls or cracks or wires in the floor. We want to make sure that we keep out of the emergency rooms because of those dangers. And of course, always be conscious of any weather events that are happening or might happen in the future. And with that, I'll turn it over to the president for further.
Thank you, Josh. I'll talk quickly on psychological safety, a topic I covered on Tuesday, and that's the healthy conflict. That's one of the 5 pillars that build psychological safety. And really acknowledging that conflict exists and will continue to exist as we have different opinions and we value and celebrate diversity. And it's very, very important for those reasons for us to be intentional about identifying conflict, working through conflict, and having healthy ways to come to the table and manage that conflict and come to resolution. So that's my reminder for psychological safety. Next slide, please. The safety focus for October, line of fire, as I mentioned on Tuesday, is a term that we use not necessarily only just for fire, but making sure that before we start any job that we are looking at our surroundings, making sure that if there could be flying objects or any elements that could harm us as we're performing the work, that we remove those hazards before work begins. On number 2, you have fall weather hazards. With the upcoming season, we have freezing and thawing. We go from freezing temperatures overnight to nice temperatures like we have this afternoon. It is easy to become complacent and not look at our surroundings. Leaves and sidewalks become slippery. So this is just another reminder that this time around, we need to watch for all types of weather patterns. Number 3, fire prevention at work and at home, of course, as temperatures are starting to drop. This is the time of year when we're turning on our furnaces, space heaters, etc. And this is usually when fires are more likely to occur. I will share a brief personal story at home, and I hope this resonates with the public and with those here. With our children, we have little children, and we practice exiting their bedroom either through the door or through a window. And a few weeks ago, one of my children decided to redecorate their room, which was a great idea for them, and they moved the one couch that is key for them to get out. Right, they moved it away, and as we're going through fire prevention, we realized, well, if we had a fire and you had to exit through the window, our youngest one is not tall enough to climb by herself. So it was important for us to move everything back and practice that getting out of the window and getting to a safe space. So just a word of caution, and hopefully this resonates with folks. That concludes my safety briefing.
Great, thanks very much. Now let's run through our guidelines for the conduct of the meeting. This regular board meeting will follow the agenda made available to the public on OPPD.com. This meeting is being conducted in person with WebEx conferencing and is being recorded. Our board meetings have public comment period on the agenda. Comments made by all parties during the meeting are part of the official public record. After the introduction of action items, board members will ask clarifying questions of staff. Then I will ask for public comment. After public comment, the board will conduct its discussion of the matter and then vote. Also, before we adjourn, there will be an opportunity to comment on any other matters of district business. We'll take comments in the room first and then via WebEx. For in-person attendees, if you wish to make a comment, please line up behind the microphone in the center of the room. Please state your name, address, and the name of any organization or person you represent. Each individual will be allotted 3 minutes per matter pending. To assist you, we'll use the timer that is located in the room. Ms. Lane will signal when you have 30 seconds remaining, as well as when time is up. If you have written materials, please deliver them to Ms. Lane. For WebEx attendees, if you wish to make a comment, please send the meeting host a message and use a chat feature or utilize the hand raise feature. Detailed instructions can be found on the OPPD website at the link shown on the screen. When I call on a member of the public to speak, please affirm that we can hear you before commencing with your comments. Please state your name, address, and the name of any organization or person you represent. Each individual will be allotted 3 minutes per matter pending. To assist you, we will use the timer on the screen and signal you when you have 30 seconds remaining, as well as when time is up. If you have written materials, please email them to corporatesecretary@oppd.com, and they will be received on our behalf. For all attendees, please direct your comments to me. I will either respond to you directly or defer response to another board member or officer of the district. The board values and welcomes civil, respectful, clear, and concise communication from the public. During public comments, speakers should refrain from repetitious, profane, or irrelevant comments. Speakers shall refrain from pulling the board, as such vote is not on the agenda and is prohibited by law. Ms. Lane, will you please take the roll call?
Director Bogner,
Here.
Director Kavanaugh,
Here.
Director Core,
Here.
Director Howard,
Here.
Director Mulhoff,
Here.
Director Moody is absent today, Director Spurgeon,
Here.
Director Williams.
Here.
Notice of the time and place of this meeting was publicized by notifying the area news media, by publicizing same in the Omaha World Herald, OPPD outlets newsletter, oppd.com, and social media, by displaying such notice on the arcade level of Energy Plaza, and by emailing such notice to each of the district's directors on October 13, 2023. A copy of the proposed agenda for this meeting has been maintained on a current basis and is readily available for public inspection in the office of the district's corporate secretary. Additionally, a copy of the Open Meetings Act is available for inspection on oppd.com and in this meeting room. The consent agenda items are as follows. Item 6, approval of the August 2023 financial report, August 2023 board governance workshop meeting minutes, September 2023 meeting minutes, and the October 19, 2023 agenda. Item 7 is ST13, Stakeholder Outreach and Engagement Monitoring Report, Resolution Number 6597. Item 8, SC5A/B, Power Turbine Refurbishment, Engineer Certification, Resolution Number 6598. Item 9, NC1, Auxiliary Cooling, HX and Condenser, Waterbox B Retube, Labor Contract Award, Resolution Number 6599. Item 10, Integrated Operations Center, Engineer Certification, Resolution Number 6600. Item 11, Acquisition of Land Rights for Enterprise Operations Technology, Communication Network Asset, Resolution Number 6601.
There are no corrections, changes, or additions to the consent agenda, and I need a motion and a second to approve these items.
So move. Second.
We discussed these action items at the all-committee meeting on Tuesday, October 17th. Do any members of the public in the room have comments on these consent agenda items? If you'd like to make a comment, please come to the podium. Do not see any. Do any members of the public on WebEx have a comment? Please send a chat to the meeting host or use the hand raise feature in WebEx. Telephone users can press *3 to raise their hand. No online comments either. Ms. Lane, please take the roll call.
Director Bogner,
Yes.
Director Kavanaugh,
Yes.
Director Core,
Yes.
Director Howard,
Yes.
Director Mulhoff,
Yes.
Director Moody is absent, Director Spurgeon,
Yes.
Director Williams.
Yes.
The first board discussion action item is sale of real property for UNMC Saddle Creek Campus Public Improvement, Resolution Number 6602. Now, therefore, be it resolved by the Board of Directors of the Omaha Public Power District that management is authorized to sell to the City of Omaha real property consisting of 3,592 square feet of land located at 4660 Jones Street, as described on Exhibit A, attached hereto, for the amount of $107,760.
So moved.
Second.
Any members of the board have any clarification questions? Seeing none, do any board members have any additional thoughts or comments on the item?
Just a little clarification. I think I'm correct in thinking that while OPPD is selling this little parcel of land, that it retains easement rights. So to use our lines and transmission and whatever else may be needed there. Is that correct?
That is correct. And there, we got clarification on Tuesday also that we have infrastructure in that location, and looking at Jake, and that is correct. Thank you.
Great. Do any members of the public in the room have a comment on this action item? If you'd like to make a comment, please come to the podium. Don't see anyone. Do we have any members of the public on WebEx who have a comment? If so, please send a chat to the meeting host or use the hand raise function. Telephone users can press *3 to raise their hand. No comments online either? Great. Any final thoughts or discussion, board? Great. Ms. Lane, please call the roll.
Director Bogner?
Yes.
Director Kavanaugh?
Yes.
Director Corr?
Yes.
Director Howard?
Not voting.
Director Molhoff?
Yes.
Director Moody, absent. Director Spurgeon?
Yes.
Director Williams?
Yes.
Resolution 6602 passes with 6 votes. The second board discussion action item is SD7 Environmental Stewardship Monitoring Report, Resolution Number 6603. Now therefore be it resolved that the Board of Directors of Omaha Public Power District accepts the 2023 SD7 Environmental Stewardship Monitoring Report in the form as set forth on Exhibit A, attached hereto and made a part hereof, and finds OPPD to be sufficiently in compliance with the policy as stated.
So moved.
Second.
All right, we discussed this SD7 Environmental Stewardship Monitoring Report at Tuesday's All Committees meeting. At that meeting, Vice President Fleener provided evidence that the 7 different elements of this particular monitoring report were in progress of being achieved. This is a long-term aspirational strategic directive. And so there is subtle progress every year, but for the next 27 years, we anticipate making further progress with this. So at this time, if there are any clarifying questions, I invite my fellow board members to ask that of staff.
Okay, seeing no clarifying questions, do any members of the public in the room have a comment on this action item? If you'd like to make a comment, please come to the podium. Seeing none, do any members of the public on WebEx have a comment? Please send a chat to the meeting host or use the hand raise feature. Telephone users can press *3 to raise their hand.
David Corbin.
Hello, David, are you there?
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can. Please go ahead.
Okay, it took a while. Thanks. David Corbin, Nebraska Sierra Club, 1002 North 49th Street. I didn't get to attend the all committee meeting, but I did get to review the PowerPoint slides. And because our national executive director from the Sierra Club was in Omaha, and he met with Sierra Club, Nebraska Sierra Club members and members of the North Omaha ad hoc group. I am happy to see the broad array of topics that OPPD is involved in terms of environmental sustainability. I would say that the Sierra Club would like to see some interim metrics to indicate the progress that OPPD is making towards reaching your long-term goals. As just was mentioned, 27 years is a long time, and how will you determine how well you're meeting those would be a good thing to have. One of the points that was on the slide was engage customers and stakeholders to promote energy conservation and efficiency and minimize environmental impact. I will submit, if you did not see it, my op-ed about energy efficiency that appeared in Sunday's Omaha World Herald, and I would hope you would take some of those suggestions to heart, especially since I've been talking about it all along, and I know it was mentioned in your PowerPoint slides, the Inflation Reduction Act and IIJA and EPA grants that are available, and how OPPD and other entities could help those who are eligible to apply for those funds. Also, the other bullet point was advocate and educate local, state, federal governments to protect and promote OPPD's environmental impact. What I believe would be a good thing is to, in your board meeting reports, to report how and when OPPD has advocated and educated with elected officials. I know I've been to a lot of meetings myself, whether at the state legislature or the city council,
30 seconds.
county commission, and times when I thought OPPD should be there and they weren't. So it would be nice to know how you select that and to find out when you have been advocating and educating. Thank you.
Thank you. Are there additional comments online?
John Pollock.
John Pollock. Can you hear me?
Yes, John, we can. Please go ahead.
Okay. 1412 North 35th Street, Omaha. I would just like to reiterate a couple of David's points that there's always room for improvement when it comes to public outreach. It's a large organization. You're doing a lot of things, and the public awareness of those tends to be on the low side overall. Also, and I'm speaking here personally as a procrastinator, interim metrics are really important. If you give me a big project and I don't have some kind of interim way of measuring my progress, I'm going to fall short at the end because I have trouble keeping up. And I realize that an organization is different from an individual, but I think that this is a long-term situation where you need to be measuring how you're doing as you go carefully. Thank you.
Thank you. Are there any additional comments online? Nope. Any comments from board members? Okay. I have some comments myself. The comprehensive approach toward organization-wide environmental stewardship continues to improve, and the work that our executive leadership and employees have undertaken over the course of the last year is absolutely commendable. I am specifically appreciative of the reaffirmation of the ongoing work and the future timelines for successfully completing the refueling and removal of coal from North Omaha Station. As we look forward, I'm glad to hear about how the reporting will inform future policy updates. A couple comments we had here discussed interim metrics, and I would refer both David and John to the meeting on Tuesday where we discussed the potential future updates to SD7 over the coming months. Regarding resource planning, I prioritize detailed information about how our short-term steps will be aligned with the long-term outcomes. OPPD's leadership across the region is critical to the success of related energy and climate action. I am confident that our participation will be a vital part of the City of Omaha Climate Action Plan work that is just beginning. As the clean energy transition continues, I look forward to OPPD leading our community toward an equitable distribution of the benefits that clean energy will bring to Omaha and to Nebraska. At this time, I believe that we are taking reasonable and appropriate measures to comply with SD7, but that the presentation of this report is not sufficiently compliant this year. And with no more comments, Ms. Lane, will you please call the roll?
Director Bogner,
Yes.
Director Kavanaugh,
Yes.
Director Corr,
Yes.
Director Howard,
Yes.
Director Mulhoff,
Yes.
Director Moody is absent, Director Spurgeon,
Yes.
Director Williams.
No.
Resolution 6603 passes with 6 votes.
Thank you. The next item is the President's report. Javier Fernandez.
Chair Williams, let me readers on. September baseload generation. September was a very different month than August when it came to generation. Of course, weather and temperatures were a lot more mild in September than we had in the last month's report. It is very interesting and important for me to point out that Nebraska City Unit 1 and 2 were pretty much available for the entire month. And so the lower capacity factor that you see here of 67 and 69% is reflective of the low market prices, which were derived by the lower demand for electricity, lower load. We had generation assets in the marketplace and not as much load. That was not the case just a few weeks before that, and that was the last week of August when we had exactly the opposite. But this is a really, really interesting point that I want to highlight how our units ramp up and ramp down and all so that we can meet customer load, not only at OPP, but for the Southwest Power Pool region. North Omaha Unit 4 was same thing. It was available most of the month. It had just 44 hours of derate to fix a booster fan. And then North Omaha 5 did have a couple of days it was on offline to fix a tube leak repair, but it was available for 90% of the time. Once again, it had a much lower capacity factor because of the dynamic I just described. Next slide, please. For our balancing generation, this is the transition from the heavy summer months into what we call the shoulder months in the fall. So we still saw a few of our balancing generation stations operate quite a bit, Cass County and our North Omaha Unit 3 in this case. But as the fall season continues, we expect these units to come back down and we will likely see a lot more wind generation, and we can start seeing that outside. And so I would expect this is as we always plan our system for our balancing generation to come off and not be as active during these months, and they will likely start picking up again in the winter months. Next slide, please. September renewables, renewable energy contributed 22.5% of OPPD's retail energy sales. The capacity factor for all renewables was 33.5%. Capacity factor for community solar was 24, almost 25%. And for wind, the capacity factor was only 28%. And I say only because we're expecting that to, again, start to come up here in the month of October and November as it gets windier. And I will report that next month. Next slide, please. On community events, at the end of August, this is a really important feature for me to highlight. We had our Humboldt Service Center down in the south part of our territory. Employees from that office, they held a back-to-school drive for Southeast Nebraska Community Action Partnership, which provided students from economically challenged households who attend schools in Richardson County with much needed school supplies. That's the first picture you see on the left. In the middle, you see the same group of employees installing bricks and replacing a statue at the Southeast Nebraska Cancer Memorial Garden, where they volunteer throughout the year on various groundskeeping and maintenance needs. And then on the right, you see on October 11th, OPPD and the University of Nebraska Lincoln Extension Office held a Connect the Dots event, which is a career simulation program for, in this case, there were 150 students in the 9th and 10th grade from Conestoga, Louisville, and Weeping Water high schools to help see their pathway into the workforce, especially here at OPPD. Next slide, please. On the awards side, I'm going to start with the picture on the left, Treeline USA Utility. Treeline USA is a partnership between the Arbor Day Foundation and the National Association of State Foresters, and it recognizes public and private utilities for pursuing best practices that protect and cultivate America's urban tree canopy. It's really interesting, maybe most people in the room know this, but Arbor Day was first created in Nebraska in 1872. And 100 years later, 1972, the Arbor Day Foundation was created. And it's that same foundation that awarded OPPD for the 23rd year the nomination of being a Treeline USA utility. So very proud of the work that our teams do. In the middle, you see Lori Zagurski receiving the 2023 AIM Tech Leader Award from the AIM Institute for her work in supporting the growth of STEM, science, technology, engineering, and math, in all these related activities for the youth in our community. Lori, which is really interesting, she's not in our technology team. She's not in the technology and security team. She is a manager of stakeholder and community outreach. And that's why she was recognized here. It's for the work that she has been doing at sharing and doing stakeholder outreach with all of our stakeholders and promoting STEM programs. She serves as the executive committee chair for the Omaha STEM Ecosystem, a not-for-profit organization whose mission is to build strong STEM community by connecting education and business development. And last but not least, on the right hand, you have Shining Stars of 2023, which is a collaborative partner that continues to help those in need become self-sufficient for the long-term utility assistance programs. And OPPD was recognized once again. Next slide. On the volunteer side, more volunteer events. On the left-hand side of the screen, you have the United Way Day of Caring, where more than 100 OPPD volunteers gave more than 230 hours of their time during the United Way of the Midlands Day of Caring, which was held on Friday, September 15th. Our volunteers helped pack food boxes, organized closets, they wrapped diapers, landscaped, and built retaining walls, among other projects. In the middle, you have the Habitat for Humanity Rock the Block in Bellevue, which was held on September 23rd, where more than 200 volunteers, many of them from OPPD, but from other companies as well, they worked on 26 homes in Old Town Bellevue on Saturday, September 23rd. I want to express my appreciation for all of the employees, board members, volunteers that came out, and especially Director Spurgeon. You're right there in your district, in your neighborhood. So thank you for coming out and helping. And last but not least, the American Foundation for Suicide Prevention, Omaha, the Omaha chapter. They started running this event a few years ago, and it's called the Out of the Darkness Walk, which is a very meaningful, very impactful event. Nearly 60 OPPD employees, friends, and family members participated. This was well attended by members of our ERGs, our safety department, Veterans Network, who showed up to provide support and increase awareness about suicide prevention. Last, just again, a reminder of the women and men who work at OPPD, and the work that we do could be dangerous and hazardous if we don't take good care of what we do. And this is a reminder, an in memoriam for Mr. Mike Formanek. He died on January 19 of 1981 after making contact with a live circuit while working on a Padman transformer on the west edge of Elkhorn. Mike was 36 years old and had been with OPPD for 12 years at the time of his death. He was survived by his wife, Carol, and his sons, Jason and Alan, his parents, 4 brothers and 1 sister. And I want to also say that he's a member of a family of employees. His niece, Dixie Formanek, just retired last month. So there's long tradition, long story, and a good way for us to remember those who lost their life in the line of duty. And that concludes my president's report.
Thank you very much. The last item is public comment. Do any members of the public have a comment they wish to share? Please come to the microphone.
David Bagley, 4611 South 96th Street. I know how much the board and the staff appreciate my comments and how closely you pay attention, but I submit that this slide here is the most important one I've ever put to you here. So the hypothetical question is, would you buy a car or a computer knowing in advance that it wouldn't work even half the time and sporadically at that, even if you felt, emphasize on the word felt, that by doing so, your purchase would save the planet from burning up in the year 2100. Earlier, we saw all these statistics on wind energy from OPPD, and it wasn't even under 40%. So here's another hypothetical. I'll play this out. Let's say I run a law firm and I've got 12 employees and it's just a litigation firm. So we're filing these briefs all the time, and they're motion briefs, trial briefs, appellate briefs. And my people, when I buy the best computers, I spend $2 billion on these computers. And then my lawyers come to me and say, hey, boss, these computers aren't working all the time. Well, we gotta meet these deadlines. So what are we gonna do? So I have to go out and spend $450 million on computers that work reliably. So I'm thinking, why did I spend that $2 billion? Well, that's exactly what you're doing. You're going to be spending $2 billion plus to achieve net zero. This is not smart. This is not prudent, not statutorily authorized, and it's a failure by the board. Here's a little chart recently out of, I think it's SPP. It shows when these different items supply power. You can see solar goes to zero every night. Oh, there's a shocker. And you've got wind, it's quite variable. Natural gas is our main one, but natural gas is demand. Wind and solar are supply. Our president last month was in Vietnam, and he claims that the only existential threat to humanity, more frightening than nuclear war, is global warming. Well, Admiral Kirby reaffirmed that. And apparently this board agrees with President Biden. Well, that provided me with some clarity. There's a Swedish scientist
30 seconds.
put the chance of nuclear war at 17%. With Russia, it's probably up to 20%. Climate change is a zero threat to humanity, zero. And that's why global warming, man-made global warming, is the biggest scam in the history of the universe. In the universe too. So why do I say that? Here's your models that all these scientists rely on. Look how they're all over their map. Down here is the actual results. The models are wrong. Thank you very much.
Are there other members of the public who have comments in the room?
Laverne Trahan, 114th and West Maple. This is based off of our CEO's comments of the promise of nuclear. So this is a past situation. Well, the project is here. Those in the industry call it notorious. It's all about Fort Calhoun. God, I had to erase a bunch of this. Trying to get the costs. Here we go. Zorinsky made a blunt statement. The prime contractor has attempted in increasing the cost of his contracts, was tantamount to economic rape of the power district and the people we serve. In January 68, 4.4 million contract was given to Peter Kiewit to do the slab and the base of the plant, and the district paid out an extra 1.1 million on that contract. Kiewit won the bidding of a general construction of the buildings for 11.9 million. So, and then to catch up because they were way behind time, they did some speed up situations, which cost the district more than 5 million, and they were further behind than ever. The reactor vessel and steam generators that were supposed to be moved 200 yards at the cost of $200,000 came up to a $1.5 million project. In late May and June in 1970, the Kiewit Company demanded $36 million on a contract it had bid $11.9 million, and then it pulled its men off the job. The engineers said the maximum that could be justified in payments to the Kiewit Company is $23.2 million. In September, the district electric rates went up 6.7%. It was the first raise in 24 years. With the plant running late, the district was forced to order 2 gas-fired turbines for $9.5 million. The Kiewit awarded the mechanical contract. The price was $21.2 million. It's now seeking $34.2 million for the work, including a $6.5 million charge for effective disruption of contract schedule. The district had to issue $170 million worth of bonds, with $100 million of the total to pay off the short-term revenue notes. The plant's estimated total price of $163 million. $22 million is in interest costs. That is 12.5% of the total cost. Commonwealth Electric Company won the electrical contract in May of '89 with a bid of $4.8 million, and they are now requesting $11.4 million. So that's just a little historical fact of the promises of nuclear. They promise you one thing and they charge you another. And so next month we will be coming back to discuss current and future
30 seconds.
SMRs, because I know there's promise in SMR. And then several more meetings away, I will be summing it all up because I got environmental issues and some other things coming. Why in the hell am I telling you this when you don't have a nuclear power plant anywhere in sight? But there's a reason. So stay tuned. Don't miss the meeting and you'll get me. Thank you. Have a good day.
Are there additional comments in the room? Do we have comments online?
John Pollock.
John Pollock, 1412 North 35th Street, Omaha. Just going to do the weather. We're in the early fall to late fall transition. So I think of that as the time when we get a hard freeze, the leaves come off the trees, and the outdoor weather becomes less pleasant. We've got about, another 4 to 6 days of pretty good weather. At the end of that, we have cold air building up in Canada. We're not sure exactly what system will bring it down, but when it builds up, it has a way of getting down into the north central U.S. and ending our early fall weather. When that happens this year, we will have a chance of thunderstorms. So far, at least, it looks like we have a fairly minimal chance of a strong storm system, the way we have had problems in a few years when the leaves were still on the trees. So that's pretty good news, but we'll still have to monitor because a week out things are less certain than if they were closer. The other aspect is that we have a El Nino situation, which you may have heard of, and unfortunately it doesn't bring a lot of predictability to Nebraska weather in the winter. What tends to happen is that we have split jet streams. One averages along the Canadian border, and the other across the Gulf Coast. And in between, we can get the influence of either, and it doesn't from year to year, there's enough variability that we don't really see a strong tendency for our late fall and winter weather out of El Nino. That was it for now. Enjoy the good weather while it lasts, and thank you.
Thank you. Do we have other comments online? All good? No comments in the room. With that, we are adjourned. Thank you.